Everything starts with a couple traveling through the desert with their family. They're driving in their car while the father sings an Arabic song, inviting his daughter to join in with her soft, sweet voice. At first, the girl is hesitant, but soon everyone ends up singing together in a warm, seemingly peaceful moment. However, that moment is suddenly broken when the mother turns off the music, saying the noise is giving her a headache. The tension sets in immediately. Shortly after, they arrive at their home, which looks old and worn down, where the girl notices her bird badly injured, bleeding a thick, dark black liquid. The girl, desperate, begs her mother to save it, but she's unable to do so and instead chooses to end its life so the little animal won't suffer. This disturbing event hints to the parents that something dark and supernatural is surrounding them, so they decide to ask the children to stay put while they move away. The couple then heads inside their house, and after walking a few steps, we see that they own a pyramid. There, they have a hidden entrance leading to a secret passage. With a faint light source, they go deeper inside until they reach an ancient sarcophagus. They look at each other with uncertainty, wondering how they will know when the right moment has finally come. However, without thinking too much about it, they start moving it using some rudimentary wheels. Finally, they open it carefully. Inside lies a motionless mummy. The man, unsettled, asks if it's awake. Suddenly, the figure seems to move, and the light cuts out without warning, plunging them into darkness. They rush to turn it back on, and when they finally do, he repeats the same question. The woman says no. But in that exact moment, the mummy violently awakens. It attacks the man, lifts him into the air, and brutally kills him. That's how the disturbing premise of the story is established. Sometime later, we're introduced to the Cannon family. The father, Charlie Cannon, is a news anchor, though his daughter Katie avoids watching him, preferring to focus on her studies. She even points out, quite bluntly, that he overuses hand gestures when he speaks. Intrigued, Charlie asks his wife, Larissa Cannon, if that gesture comes off as annoying to viewers. She honestly confirms that it does, and suggests he tone it down. It's also revealed that Larissa is pregnant, adding a new layer to the family dynamic. Later on, the family is forced to step in during a fight between their children. Sebastian Cannon has thrown his sister's doll, which immediately sets her off. Amid the conflict, Katie asks her parents the classic question about which child they love more, trying to ease the tension. Charlie fixes the doll and gives it back to Katie, but she's still upset, feeling like her brother doesn't get treated the same way. After that, the girl heads out to the garden to play. The family lives in Cairo, a setting that blends everyday life with a mysterious undertone. While playing near a wooded area, Katie meets an unfamiliar woman who claims to be a witch. With an unsettling calmness, the woman tells her she can show her a trick. She also claims to be the mother of one of her friends, a girl her age named Layla Khalil, which gives Katie a false sense of trust. At the same time, Charlie Cannon calls his wife Larissa to tell her he got the news anchor position, something that should be good news. Meanwhile, Katie receives her favorite sweets from the supposed witch, unaware of the danger behind it. Shortly after, Charlie finds a large amount of candy hidden in the house closet, all belonging to Katie. When he asks his son about it, Sebastian explains that it's Katie's friend who keeps bringing it to her in the garden. That revelation sparks a growing sense of unease. We see the mysterious woman getting very close to Katie. She apologizes with strange kindness and offers her an apple while whispering incomprehensible words. Suddenly, a cockroach emerges from the fruit and crawls into the girl's mouth, leaving her unable to breathe. Alarmed by what he's heard, Charlie immediately rushes out to look for his daughter, remembering that his son mentioned her encounters in the garden. However, when he arrives, he discovers that Katie has disappeared and there's a hole in the wall. Desperate, Charlie begins searching for her without stopping. In the distance, he manages to spot the woman carrying his daughter in her arms. He runs after them with all his strength, trying to catch up, but the chaos of the environment, the traffic, and the cog surrounding everything make it harder to move forward. Eventually, he loses sight of the figure as a powerful sandstorm breaks out around him, leaving him completely disoriented and overwhelmed by despair. Later on, at the police station, several officers approach Detective Dahlia Zaki to ask if she speaks English, since the case involves foreigners. They explain that there are multiple disappearances, along with nearly 190 young people found dead, and that the job will demand strong emotional resilience in order to face disturbing scenes. After accepting the challenge, they take her to Katie's parents, where her job is to translate every word accurately between both sides. During the interrogation, the parents respond in distress, and the officer in charge asks when they last saw their daughter. Mr. Cannon states that the last time he was with Katie was around 3 in the afternoon. He adds, visibly desperate, that the person who took her used to offer her candy to gain her trust. However, the officer remains skeptical of his account and chooses not to believe it. Instead, he orders an investigation into the family itself, suggesting conflicting possible responsibility. As a result, the authorities decide not to provide immediate support, which only deepens the parents' frustration and pain. The story then jumps 8 years into the future, shifting us to Albuquerque, New Mexico. There, Charlie Cannon drives through the city streets, looking at old photos of Katie with nostalgia, holding on to memories of his missing daughter. Meanwhile, Larissa Cannon continues to think about her every night, unable to heal from that wound. At home, their younger daughter, now 8 years old and named Maud, asks her mother to use the computer to print something. During dinner, the family gathers around the table. Sebastian Cannon, now a teenager, asks for permission to travel to Europe, expressing his desire to explore the world. However, his mother immediately refuses, overwhelmed by the fear that something terrible might happen again. This moment reveals how the past tragedy continues to shape every decision and relationship within the household. The narrative shifts once more, this time to the eastern desert of Egypt. There, a young man rides his bicycle across the terrain until he stops to fix its chain. Suddenly, a small plane plummets from the sky and crashes not far from him. Shocked, he decides to approach the crash site, and as he enters a nearby wooded area, he discovers the wreckage of the aircraft. He finds the pilot dead and the co-pilot trapped among the branches of a tree. Overcome with panic, he runs away, and during his escape, he stumbles upon the ancient sarcophagus of the mummy. Later on, a group of researchers carefully examines the sarcophagus, analyzing its composition and searching for clues about its origin. They decide to open it and discover the mummy inside, carefully wrapped in bandages covered in inscriptions. They begin removing them cautiously, documenting every detail with photographs. Suddenly, the mummy awakens and lets out a horrifying scream, breaking the solemn atmosphere and unleashing terror. The story then returns to a more everyday tone. The Cannon family is in their car, heading out for pizza, trying to enjoy a rare moment of calm. However, the peace is shattered when Charlie Cannon receives an unexpected phone call. It's the U.S. Embassy counselor in Cairo who delivers shocking news. His daughter Katie has been found alive. At this revelation, the family is left in complete disbelief. Without wasting any time, they decide to travel immediately to Cairo, driven by hope and the urgent need to finally reunite with her after so many years of uncertainty. The doctor warns them that they must prepare themselves emotionally before seeing her, as Katie is suffering from severe skin trauma and is trapped in a catatonic state. He explains that in this condition, she may display strange behaviors, make unusual sounds, and develop involuntary tics. He also notes that her stress levels are extremely high, making it essential to handle her with great care. He urges them to avoid sudden movements or loud noises, which is why she is kept sedated. With these instructions, the parents finally enter the room. They approach cautiously and, in a soft voice, tell her that they are her parents and that she is safe now. The doctor adds that the visible scratches on her body were self-inflicted. Later, the doctor mentions that returning home might be the best way to help her break out of the trance she's in. The Cannons are left deeply shaken by the situation and step outside to process what has happened. Shortly after, the authorities show them photographs of the sarcophagus where she was found. They explain that Katie was being transported inside it when the small plane crashed, and that this method is often used as a clandestine form of human trafficking, adding an even more disturbing layer to the case. Meanwhile, the grandmother is preparing a cake, since they plan to celebrate Katie's 17th birthday. Despite the excitement of her return, the atmosphere is heavy with tension. When she finally arrives, everyone comes out to greet her with mixed emotions: joy, fear, and uncertainty. Sebastian Cannon, her brother, is visibly shaken as he sees her again after all these years. Little Maud approaches to welcome her and innocently tells her that she's now almost the same age Katie was when she was kidnapped. Meanwhile, the grandmother begins to pray fervently. However, as soon as the prayer ends, Katie suddenly stands up and headbutts her. Her body then begins to contort in a disturbing way, as if she were possessed, sending everyone into panic. Finally, they manage to restrain her and give her a sedative to calm her down. That same night, Maud goes looking for her brother Sebastian to confess that she's afraid of Katie. At the same time, Charlie Cannon carefully reviews the photographs taken from the sarcophagus, trying to find answers. Meanwhile, Larissa Cannon sits beside her daughter and, with tenderness, begins talking to her about her life before she disappeared. She shows her childhood pictures, trying to remind her who she was and everything she meant to the family. Suddenly, Maud and Sebastian hear strange noises noises coming from different parts of the house. Alarmed, Charlie goes upstairs to investigate and discovers that Katie is no longer in her bed. He wakes Larissa, and together they start searching for her with growing concern. Meanwhile, the siblings, still in their room, claim they saw something moving inside the wall. When Larissa comes closer to check, she is met with a disturbing sight. Katie is eating something in the dark. They chase her and, in horror, discover that she is consuming insects. Sebastian and Maud rush out to see what's happening. While Maud stands frozen in fear, Sebastian witnesses their parents trying to pull a cockroach out of Katie's mouth, which triggers an immediate reaction of nausea, causing her to vomit uncontrollably. The next day, Charlie takes his children to school. During the drive, they encounter a pack of coyotes that briefly blocks their path, creating an uneasy, almost premonitory feeling. Eventually, they manage to move on. Before getting out of the car, Sebastian asks his father what really happened to Katie. However, Charlie has no clear answers. He can only repeat what the doctor told them. At home, Larissa and the grandmother take care of cleaning Katie up with a mix of tenderness and concern. They trim her nails and gently comb her hair, as if trying to slowly restore some sense of normalcy. Meanwhile, after dropping the children off at school, Charlie works on preparing the room to prevent Katie from escaping again. During this process, he discovers a disturbing blood stain hidden under the carpet, which deepens his unease. At the same time, while Larissa continues trimming her nails, something unsettling happens. Part of Katie's skin begins to peel off, causing her to suddenly run away. Charlie, hearing the noise, rushes to investigate and finds her again in an alarming state, eating insects. Determined to understand what is happening, Charlie follows her cautiously and witnesses an even more disturbing scene. Katie appears to be trying to tear off her own foot, as if she feels no pain or as if something else is controlling her. They manage to stop her in time, and once she is sedated again, Charlie suggests the possibility of temporarily moving her to a specialized center. However, Larissa firmly refuses. She argues that their daughter has been gone for too many years, and that now, after finally returning, she refuses to lose her from the home again. The tension between them escalates quickly. Overwhelmed by guilt, Charlie confesses that he feels it was all his fault since he was there the day she was kidnapped, and never once suspected the existence of that friend Katie used to see in the garden. Larissa, deeply affected, reacts with anger and decides to cut the discussion short to go see her daughter. Standing in front of Katie, she tries to establish some kind of connection, begging her to say even a single word. However, Katie responds aggressively, spitting at her, revealing the emotional distance and the severity of her condition. Later, Charlie finds pieces of skin that appear to have peeled off Katie's body. Intrigued, he examines them closely and discovers inscriptions on them as if they were part of an ancient text. Although he cannot understand their meaning, he begins organizing the fragments, comparing them with the photographs of the sarcophagus in search of any pattern or clue that could help him decipher the hidden message. In parallel, a professor specializing in ancient history is giving a lecture on mummies. Charlie attends in hopes of finding answers. After the class ends, he approaches the academic and shows him what he has discovered, asking about its possible origin. The professor explains that it could be a very ancient form of Egyptian writing, even predating the time of Christ by thousands of years. Charlie, now increasingly convinced there is something deeper behind everything, asks for help translating the symbols. Back at home, while taking care of Katie, something unexpected happens. The girl tries to communicate using Morse code. Charlie, alert, grabs his notebook and begins writing down each signal. He then goes through his daughter's belongings, searching for any reference, and finds her passport along with notes related to that communication system. When he deciphers the message, he obtains a clear name, Layla. Without wasting time, he calls Detective Dahlia Zaki and informs her of the discovery. Zaki asks if he has any additional clues connected to that name, suggesting that someone may have sent letters or items related to Layla. At that moment, Charlie opens an old chest filled with letters and urgently begins going through them. Meanwhile, inside the house, Maud heads to the bathroom. As she leaves, she hears a voice singing with an unsettling sweetness. Intrigued, she follows the sound to Katie's room, where she discovers that her sister can speak. Katie secretly asks her not to tell their mother anything, explaining that she wants to practice speaking first with her, since she is her favorite in the family. In a disturbing tone, she begins asking increasingly strange questions, even showing interest in unsettling details, like the taste of her fingers. Maud, terrified, tries to run, but an invisible force stops her and lifts her into the air, as if she were being possessed. At the same time, in the basement, Charlie notices the lights flickering flickering, but he doesn't go upstairs immediately, as he has just found a letter bearing the name Layla Khalil. Meanwhile, Detective Dahlia Zaki investigates new leads and discovers the possible existence of an isolated farm in the desert linked to the case. She decides to analyze the available photographs in search of coincidences. At the same time, the professor tells Charlie that the fragments he found do not belong to a simple text, but to something far older and darker, an entity known as Nazmalanial. According to legend, it was a malevolent force that moved through the shadows, between the world of the living and the dead. It was known as the destroyer of families, a presence that would whisper through noise itself, planting suspicion where love once existed and slowly tearing entire communities apart. In its time, it was considered a kind of demon. However, long before the era of Christ, its trace disappeared completely, leaving behind only rumors and fragments of a story many would rather forget. The professor then explained that these fragments contain the phrases needed either to hasten the demon or to release it, as if they were ancient instructions written for a very specific purpose. We see that at school, Maud insults her teacher for no apparent reason, while at home, Katie laughs as if she can observe everything with a disturbing calm that doesn't match her condition. Meanwhile, Zaki has gone into the desert to the farm. She enters and studies everything in detail, moving through the remains of sand and old structures until she reaches a pyramid, the same one from the beginning. She approaches it and discovers the chain leading downward, beneath the surface, where the sarcophagus was located. At the same time, we see the woman from the beginning arriving, moving with clear intent. Back with Zaki, she continues until she finds the space where the sarcophagus is located, but frightened, she goes outside to call for backup. In that moment, the woman arrives and tries to attack her, but Zaki shoots first in a Just then, her daughter arrives and runs off. Zaki chases her through the desert dust, but the girl suddenly stops and urgently digs something up from the sand. Zaki realizes she is Layla Khalil, and when she opens the box, she finds a tape labeled with Katie's name. Meanwhile, Charlie is driving back with his children in the car, while Maud keeps insulting everyone non-stop, becoming increasingly out of control. The grandmother, on her side, continues praying to Katie, but Katie violently pushes her away and tells her she will give her a heart attack, beating her until she collapses. The grandmother falls onto the road where the cannons are passing by, and coyotes end up devouring her, while the family is left devastated, except Maud, who only laughs as if she doesn't understand the gravity of what just happened. Zaki plays the tape and watches the video. On it, Layla's mother speaks coldly. An innocent child is better. The body lasts longer, explaining how it all began. After watching the recording, Zaki goes to speak with Layla and asks her what is happening on the tape. Layla cannot speak because her mother cut out her tongue, which makes everything even more disturbing. Layla says she once tried to tell the truth, and her mother punished her for it. She insists that Katie should not be outside the box, that her siblings had to move it, but they never should have done so. She asks for a sheet of paper and begins writing everything down. Zaki then decides she needs to go see Charlie because she must show him what she has discovered. Meanwhile, the Cannon family is mourning the death of the grandmother, trapped between grief and fear. Maud spits out her food as Larissa tells Charlie she no longer wants Katie in the house. While Sebastian is looking after Katie, she speaks to him softly, telling him not to leave and that she misses being part of the family, manipulating the atmosphere with an unsettling calm. Sebastian runs off to listen to music, but even there, Katie's voice seems to reach him, asking if he remembers the day he broke her doll, saying that was what gave her the idea to test whether the grandmother could fly. Meanwhile, during the funeral, while Maud distracts everyone, Katie falls into the grandmother's coffin and begins sucking at her neck in a completely uncontrolled act. Later, they prepare to leave, but Zaki arrives. She has come to show them what happened to Katie, revealing that everything is escalating much faster than they ever imagined. Dark signs have appeared, and the moment of containing the family's secret has arrived, the mummy ritual. As the firstborn, she must perform it in order to protect her family from the Nazmalanial, so she leaves a video behind for her future children, explaining how the ritual is carried out, from a drained body to a newly prepared host. An innocent child is better, the body lasts longer, but any living human will do. They begin the ritual, replacing Katie's body with the mummy's, bringing it closer as they start chanting the incantation. Katie absorbs the mummy in a process that is impossible to understand. Meanwhile, Katie is controlling her brother's mind and tells him to help her undress, so he begins removing all the bandages from her body, as if acting without any will of his own. In the video, it is also shown that she was wrapped in bandages during the ritual, and Zaki says that what was placed inside should have stayed underground and bound, never to be awakened. Charlie is left in shock, while Larissa goes to see Katie. Charlie then reacts and manages to see the grandmother, who has come back to life, leaving him stunned as she tries to approach him in an unsettling way, even asking for an intimate moment. He panics and runs to see Katie instead. Katie loses control. She bites her father and hits him repeatedly. Larissa is forced to confront her son Sebastian, who is also under Katie's influence. Meanwhile, the grandmother faces Zaki and forces a scorpion through her mouth, but Zaki manages to pull it out with great effort. Larissa tricks her son and injects him with a sedative. Charlie helps Zaki. She removes the scorpion and tells him to remember the incantation since she speaks Arabic. The scorpion has left a hole in her throat, so she has to hold it to speak. With effort, she manages to recite it loudly and clearly. Just as they finish the ritual, Larissa arrives and witnesses everything, and Charlie ultimately sacrifices himself. Katie speaks again, and when she asks about her father, he is placed inside the chest they kept at home. Katie is able to communicate with him through Morse code, and she sends Larissa a message saying that their father said he loves them. Later on, Larissa watches her children playing happily, but then contacts Zaki. She says she needs to speak with her about Charlie. It is revealed that Layla's mother was still alive and hospitalized. Larissa has gone to her and injected her with a sedative. Zaki arrives with Charlie's body and tells her she surely remembers what comes next. So they will perform the ritual on her and replace her body with Charlie's so he can come back to life. And so the story ends, with the cycle repeating once again, as if it could never truly be closed. Until next time.